I feel like this is also going to be another inflammatory video. We'll get like the controversial videos out of the way first, and then like cleanse the palate with something a lot nicer. Like this thumbnail alone is already clickbait as hell. Holy shit. See, this if it was just this thumbnail, I wouldn't even consider it. But like the actual title has me intrigued. This is gonna be an interesting night. I can already tell. I feel like we're gonna loop back on the like idealized female that's not real. Your waifu is not real. I am painfully aware that my waifu is not real. That will not stop me from improving myself to be the kind of man she hypothetically wants. Like, I've been working out, I've been eating better, I've been fixing my sleep schedule, I've been pursuing my creative endeavors, managing my finances better. But anyway, enough about me. Let's watch this video and let's step into this minefield of a video.
The VTuber question. Are VTubers cringe and degenerate? Or are
yes,
they fine
and yes.
Of just pure, harmless, youthful fun? The answer to
also
is
yes. Depends on the VTuber, really.
What do you think of men who get cooked?
I think that's really sad. They should beat their wives.
What? Holy shit!
Some left sources like MSNBC reported as if Bad Orange Man is using his election win to evade justice. If you were to ask me, the whole thing is dumb since it was a victimless crime anyways. But ground news can help you come to your own conclusion. Let's easily see.
I wouldn't say it was victimless.
Wave or scan my QR code to now get 50% off the Vantage plan, which gets you unlimited access.
Or
anyways,
you could use critical thinking.
Have VTubers accidentally proven something about our culture that mass media doesn't really want to talk about? Is in fact a very large yes. And it's something that starts to reveal itself when you start to examine the phrase manic pixie dream girl. A fantastic example of how modern cultural critique is filled with a lot of really dumb ideas that are both largely misandrous towards men, but interestingly, in this particular case, it's also something that has a side effect of being severely damaging to young women, in that it preaches to young ladies a false narrative that, when taken seriously, will result in them making a series of really bad and dumb decisions that will ultimately ruin her life and destroy any romantic prospects she may have. And VTubers have just kind of accidentally proven.
I'm also sensing a bias in this video as well.
Exactly there's some men out there who are VTubers, but mostly it's young women, usually women under the age of 35. And what VTubers mostly do is provide
male VTuber here. Have confidence.
Or reacting to internet memes while being quirky and fun.
No confidence.
Entirely fiction. Deeply hated by the sort of neo-Marxist woke progressive types. And they of course use the usual prog snarl words. It's problematic, or it's sexist, or that it's harmful in some way. Because, it hurt their subjective feelings, so therefore it's harmful. Their logic is flawless. Don't question it, don't think about it, just accept it. And they've been talking about this for much longer than
the bias is
VTubers
strong.
And so VTubers aren't really the that they are. Now, like all midwit takes, there is a base level of truth in these people whining about manic pixie dream girls, because unrealistic characters to serve as romantic interests absolutely do exist, and they can get pretty darn cringe. For example, a common trope you might see in romance novels written for women is an alpha male with supernatural powers, taking interest in a totally ordinary, normal, boring girl for basically no reason. And he then proceeds to take care of her and protect her throughout the story for, again, basically no reason. Twilight is usually given as the basic example of this, but it happens a lot. And on the flip side, you can also find unrealistic female characters in things like Japanese harem anime, where an extremely boring male character, with no personality so to speak, that always looks like Shinji for some reason, gets his pick of a slew of extremely attractive female characters who all have the hots for him for basically no reason whatsoever. He just kind of exists and suddenly all these girls. The problem with these kind of characters is that they're wish fulfillment characters. They give young readers an extremely unrealistic expectation for the opposite sex. Which can
we pointed that out before.
Cold and alone. I mean, there's a reason why harem anime is often laughed at as a genre of anime that is mainly for virgins. Because it kinda is, to be honest. A really basic red pill advice for young men is that you can't just sit around and wait for some 10 out of 10 pure-hearted female with absolutely no flaws about her whatsoever to just magically take an interest in you and do all the work and just want you for no reason. that just
Yeah,
doesn't happen.
it's like,
Rather, what
when you
happens
say it
most
like
of the
that, it
time
does
is that you
sound
end up
unfair,
with the
doesn't
partner
it?
you earn. So in reality, you have to become the kind of man that the kind of woman you want finds attractive. And of course, the same thing.
That's what I said earlier!
Woman isn't about relationship advice. A big problem with the dating market is that too many people are going into it only thinking about what they can get out of it, rather than going into it thinking about what they have to give, or what exactly is it about you that makes you a good partner. And I have a special understanding of this because one thing people might not know about me is that I'm actually a married man. I normally would never bring this up, but I don't
What?
about myself.
I gotta admit it. I did not see this coming. In a million years, I did not see this coming.
Much because it doesn't really matter in the context of philosophical or political channel. But it is relevant because I can point out one very simple fact about a lasting marriage, which is that you have to care about what your partner wants. You have to care about their well-being. In order for love to work and for it to last, you have to wake up every day thinking about what you have to give, rather than just what you can get out of your partner. If I didn't care about my wife's well-being, or if she didn't care about my well-being, it wouldn't work. You both have to genuinely respect each other's will, almost as if it were your own.
My goodness, what an idea. Why didn't I think of that?
And so that is just kind of the basic nugget of truth that exists within this critique of the manic pixie dream girl archetype.
It sounds
that we're seeing
crazy,
from these
but
neo-Marxist
he might be onto something here.
feminists. The problem is, and where they completely screw up and get it all completely backwards, is that what they're whining about isn't actually unrealistic at all. I decided to watch some of the movies and look at some of the characters that are often called out as being manic pixie dream girls, and the only consistency I found is that they were women, they had some femininity and some quirkiness to their personality, they liked to have fun, and they didn't hate men. So to any woman out watching this, if you meet these 4 traits, congratulations, you apparently don't exist. So what we are seeing here is kind of the reverse problem. Rather than setting
Don't worry,
an
I'm a male
unrealistically
VTuber.
high
Apparently I don't
bar
exist
for a
either.
potential partner, what we're really seeing for men who enjoy that are objectifying them. They only view her as an object. But that's actually a false dichotomy. It is entirely possible, in fact very common, for a man to find a woman sexy and attractive and still respect her as a human being with human rights. Just because sex sells doesn't mean that men only view women as sex objects. You can absolutely find a woman sexy and still respect her. And yet whenever I see these radical feminist neo-Marxist critiques of art and literature and whatnot, they just automatically assume that any attractive female character is being objectified, which is objectively invalid reasoning. Those two scales are not tied together. Men's brains do not work in a way where the more attractive we see a woman, we then automatically have to see her as less of a human being. The personality scale and the look scale are entirely capable of going up and down independently of each other. And yet because neo-Marxist philosophy tends to view the evil straight white male as the oppressor group, it is automatically always taken in bad faith, and so it is assumed that the evil straight white male must therefore be objectifying any woman who is found to be attractive, or any woman in art or literature who is attractive. And that's objectively not true. It's a false dichotomy fallacy. It's not a sustainable argument, and as I've just shown you, it falls apart very easily when examined. And here's the thing, the same thing is true for pretty much all the other complaints about the manic pixie dream girl. For example, going back to VTubers, there are a lot of young depressed men in the Western society. That's just
oh boy, are there.
Many of them watching VTubers helps them out of that depression. Does that mean they see the VTuber as just a tool to bring him out of depression? Just an object with no will of her own? Just a means to an end of that goal? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. That is just another false dichotomy. For the exact same reason, just because someone helped you out of depression doesn't mean you view them as a tool with no human agency of their own. That's ridiculous.
If anything, I would be thankful to that person.
Have to ask, or how about the idea that the manic pixie dream girl has no life of her own? I mean, where's that even coming from? So because a girl doesn't open up about who she is and give us a massive backstory about everything in her life, then she has no life of her own? I mean,
it's called boundaries.
Is that the sort of radical neo-Marxist feminist types end up shaming any woman who doesn't hate men, which is probably why I see the word pick-Misha often being thrown at VTubers. Now, on the
I've heard of pick me, but not pick Misha.
As a woman who devalues herself in order to get picked by men, or a woman who is constantly seeking validation from men. But the problem is, the word in practice generally gets used against any lady who happens to get along with men just fine, or just does something that the neo-Marxists don't like. For example, apparently Dipper Dog is a pick-me because she reacted to a video of men doing better than women at hunting, so she had fun laughing at
I watched that video, it's hilarious.
Between male and female and humans. Apparently this is pick-me behavior. Or how about another example? Apparently Smug Elena is a pick-me for making fun of game journos over the whole Black Myth Wukong fiasco.
Hey. It's always good to make fun of game journos.
that labels like Manic Pixie Dream Girl and Pick Misha are really just crab mentality, which is the if I can't have it, neither can anyone else mentality. It's a very bizarre and toxic psychological phenomenon where people will try to undermine the success of others. Because one thing that's interesting about VTubers is, again, I'm talking about mostly successful VTubers here. A lot of these girls actually make pretty decent money. They don't make as good of money as some people think they do, but for any girl who manages to hit around 100k followers, it can become a pretty stable upper middle class income. And the girls who manage to hit 1 million can also hit the 7-figure mark in their income as well, which is kind of the bizarre irony of the red pill community at least gives men basic decent advice, even if it really can be a little bit misogynist at times. For example, when Andrew Tate says that you should lift and that men should be constantly improving themselves, he's correct. Some of the other things he says may be questionable.
I don't like the guy, but if he actually said that,
correct, which is that you need to be
then it's
My goodness, what an idea. Why didn't I think of that?
act a bunch of bastards who only want sex? Welp, you're a pick-me. You being nice to men? Nope, can't do that because men just want to sleep with you. And any lady who questions that is, again, you guessed it, a pick-me. And while there is a little bit of correct advice here, like for example, I will never be with a man who cheats on me,
My goodness, what an idea. Why didn't I think of that?
it doesn't really
okay,
matter
that's
because
just
that was
common
kind of
sense.
obvious. Society is strongest when men and women have roles that are complementary to each other rather than of an adversarial nature. Furthermore, when one gender, either one, is mistreated, the other ends up becoming disenfranchised as well. Any society that wishes to sustain itself needs for men and women to get along with each other, or else both parties are going to end up suffering, as the culture of their society becomes more
But
and more
that can't happen
And
because
so
of
when you see
social
progressive
media.
pseudo-intellectual-
All right, let's take some time to kind of wind down from that again. Because boy, oh boy, just like the last video, that one had a lot of bias towards it. This trope character is just a tool because they help the male character out of his depression. For the purposes of the story, yeah, in that instance, the character is a narrative tool. But if that kind of scenario played out in real life, if a girl helped a guy get through his depression and made a hugely positive impact on his life, she's not being a tool. She's being that man's everything. He would value that woman above all else because she gave him the emotional support that men these days are sorely in need of. I can personally vouch for this. This happened during one of the darker periods of my life, where a woman from an unexpected source kind of gave me the emotional support I needed to, not just end it all and to keep on living. If anyone remembers that NaNoWriMo thing I did a couple of years ago, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But yeah, now you think about it, I'm trying to think of all the VTubers I watch, mainly the women VTubers, because this video focuses on the women VTubers. I'm thinking of all the women VTubers I watch consistently. And yeah, they kind of all fit into the manic pixie dream girl archetype in one way or another. It's really, Nina Kosaka got it right. Men are easy. Just be nice to them. That's all it takes.
Men are easy. Just be nice to them.
Men are easy. What the fuck?
What the fuck? If it's
Nice
easy,
to
then why
them.
am I still single?
I don't get it.
And that's why their mostly male audience keeps coming back, myself included, because they're just pretty chill. They're having fun. They're nice to people. Wow, what a concept. Of all the corpo VTubers I watch and all the indie VTubers I watch, yeah, that's the common thread. It's they're chill. They're doing something that lets them have fun. They enjoy what they're doing. They're nice to the people that show up. Yeah. Now I think about it, it's that not only applies to the women VTubers I watch, but also the men VTubers I watch too. Of course, most of the time I'm friends with the men VTubers I watch, but that's beside the point. The point is they're usually doing something that they're having fun with, usually playing some super niche game. Wait, that sounds like me. Holy shit, I cracked the code. But that kind of is there a male equivalent of Manic Pixie Dream Girl? Because if there is, I don't think a lot of male VTubers fall into that category. If I try searching it up on TV tropes, a Manic Pixie Dream guy is a much rarer concept. tend to be either young, like a kid sidekick, or immature, like a man-child. If the latter, expect them to learn just as much from their cynical partner as they teach. The cynic learns to enjoy life more, while the immature one learns responsibility. Okay, so if we look at this cynically and say, like, the male equivalent of Manic Pixie Dream Girl is the man-child, then yeah, for better or for worse, I think a lot of male VTubers fall into that category. When you pull back the veil, we're a bunch of adult males playing video games, staring at boobies, and just participating in general tomfoolery. Yeah, that sounds like man-child, kind of. Let's see what other comments we can, like, glean from that. There it is. Men are easy, just be nice to them. Nina Kosaka. Anime is dangerous because it offers men the fantasy of a woman who loves them just for who they are. Young women, Hosho Marine, front and center on the screen. Someone's trying to win brownie points with Sencho, huh? 99% of men give up and start working on themselves before a 10 out of 10 rich, big titty goth vampire tsundere who is also your childhood friend who you forgot about because, yeah, moves in next door and gets interested in them. That is oddly specific. And yes, this person gives a good point too. Just like a woman can respect an attractive man, a man can respect a woman he's attracted to. It happens all the time. That's how people get married. Wow, what a concept. Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah, going back to, like, the majority of VTubers I watch. Yeah, fun to be around, nice to people, quirky, doing what they love, yeah. It's just a matter of, like, finding your niche. And, like, I myself am trying to, like, refine my niche. But, like, the one point I, like, 100% agree with about this video, as much of there is a bias in it, it's like, the point he made is, like, if you want to, like, attract, like, really attractive people, you gotta, like, work on yourself and improve yourself. You can't expect, like, the world to just give you a perfect 10 on a silver platter without you doing anything. Like, as much as it sucks, they have a point.
He's out of line, but he's right.
As, like, unfair as the high standards are for both sides, it doesn't erase the fact that those standards exist. Like, even if you'll never reach that bar, you can, at the very least, close the gap between you and the bar. And that's all anyone can realistically ask for.
Ikazuchi Batu!